Process improvement methodologies. Kaizen, Kanban, Six Sigma.
Productivity is very important in today's competitive business environment. Organizations look for the ways of improving their processes, reducing costs, and increasing their benefits. Process improvement involves the business practice of identifying, analyzing, and improving existing business processes to optimize performance, meet best practice standards, and the user experience for customers. There are many different methodologies available to help your organization achieve process improvement. Each methodology responds to a different need.
Kaizen methodology. Kaizen was first practiced after World War II in the Japanese manufacturing industry, and it was introduced by an organizational theorist Masaki Imai in his book Kaizen: The Key to Japan's Competitive Success in 1986. Kaizen methodology refers to activities that continuously improve all functions of an organization. It aims at involving all the employees from low level to top level within the organization. Implementation of Kaizen has 3 basic steps. 1. Encourage participation. 2. Training and education. 3. Quality improvement. Kaizen helps to identify and quickly remove waste in all phases of an organization through improving standardized tasks and processes. For a successful Kaizen implementation, employees should be encouraged by the top management. With the help of Kaizen boards, employees can post their ideas and decisions for each process. This removes the barriers between employees and management. Six Sigma. Six Sigma is a powerful problem-solving and process improvement tool which is developed by a quality assurance engineer Bill Smith at Motorola in 1986. Then it was registered in 1993 as a trademark of Motorola. The CEO of General Electric, Jack Welch, used this efficient technique for his business strategy in 1995. The Six Sigma methodology aims to improve the quality of the process by analyzing and reducing defects and errors. Apart from the other quality improvement techniques, Six Sigma aims to achieve measurable, quantifiable, and measurable results. Other techniques often rely on assumptions and estimates. The 2 methodologies DMAAYC and DMADV are the sub-methodologies of Six Sigma. Using this technique enables to reduce the number of defective products manufactured or services provided, resulting in increased revenue and greater customer satisfaction. Kanban. Kanban methodology is a process improvement tool developed by an industrial engineer Taiichi Ohno in the late 1940s. In the beginning, it is introduced as an integral part of the lean manufacturing production system. The purpose of the Kanban approach was to increase the productivity of the Toyota production system by eliminating wastes without causing a decrease in productivity. The Japanese word Kanban means visual card. Kanban laminated cards are used in the Toyota plants to guide lean production by communicating demands. These cards specify the tasks that need to be done just in time. Some frameworks focus on lean process improvement techniques, while others focus on getting your company culture in the right place. Regardless of what methodology you are using, involving people to decision-making is key to gather different approaches regarding changes. What is team building? Team building is the process of forming a team that is closely working together towards a common goal. The main purpose is creating an effective team by forming bonds. Benefits of team building include increased communication, collaboration and cooperation, improved planning skills, increased motivation within the workplace. 5 stages of team development. The aim of team development is to make everybody work together to contribute collectively to team outcomes. According to Bruce Tuckman, there are 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. 1. Forming. Forming stage involves a period of orientation in which team members are getting to know each other. They ask questions related to the project goals, milestones and roles. 2. Storming. Conflicts and competitions among team members often arise at this stage. Due to this, productivity and team performance decreases. Team members can form subgroups and start questioning team goals. 3. Norming. Team members begin to notice and appreciate each other's strengths. At this stage, conflicts are relatively resolved and some degree of unity emerges. Productivity begins to increase as team members begin to focus on team goals. 4. Performing. At this stage, consensus and cooperation have been well established and the team now appears to have solved many of its problems. As the name suggests, team members are performing to reach the goals. 5. Adjourning. Most of the tasks have been completed. The roles have been completed and the goal is achieved or not. As the work is done, team members may be reassigned to other teams, and the team dissolves. Team building is a process. It is not easy. Each stage of team development has its own characteristics. Knowing the 5 stages of team development helps you to form effective teams to reach desirable results. Risk analysis in project management. Risk analysis is the process of identifying and analyzing potential risks that might have either positive or negative impacts on project objectives. Several factors trigger risks. Natural disasters such as severe storms, earthquakes, floods, or events caused by human activities. Risk analysis aims at identifying the potential for harm from these factors, as well as the possibility that they will occur. Once the risks are identified, they are analyzed to identify the qualitative and quantitative impact of the risk on the project. Risk analysis process. There are 3 basic steps of risk analysis. Identify risks. Qualitative analysis. Quantitative analysis. 1. Identify risks. Risk identification is the process of identifying and assessing risks to an organization, its operations, and its workforce. Here you list all the potential project risks and their characteristics. Risk identification starts at the beginning of the project planning phase and continues throughout the project lifecycle. 2. Qualitative analysis. Qualitative risk analysis is the process of evaluating individual project risks considering their probability of occurrences and impacts. As a result of analysis groups, project risks can be classified into 3 groups according to their degree of impact, which are low, medium, and high. A risk assessment matrix is a useful tool for qualitative risk analysis that helps you to rate project risks as low, medium, high, very high. 3. Quantitative analysis. Quantitative risk analysis focuses on numerically evaluating the influence of project risks on project elements. It is performed to understand the probability and impact of risks on project objectives. For example, in a construction project, quantitative risk analysis helps us to calculate the impact of a project delay, such as obtaining a permit late causes a 20-day delay with a cost of. There is no risk-free project. Therefore, need to be prepared risks with a risk management plan. Planning for risks will help you to know how to identify, monitor, and deal with risks when they occur in your project.
Five tips on how to manage and resolve conflict. Many people experience conflicts in their day-to-day lives, with their coworkers, families, and more so their professional lives. In the workplace, conflicts often cause work disruptions, decreased productivity, project failure, absenteeism, turnover, and termination. Conflict management is the practice of identifying and handling conflicts sensibly, fairly, and efficiently. When people use the right techniques of resolution to address issues, they will be able to keep their problems from rising to expanding. There are 5 conflict management techniques in project management. 1. Withdrawing. 2. Smoothing. 3. Compromising. 4. Forcing. 5. Collaborating. 1. Withdrawing. Withdrawing technique can be used when the issue is unimportant or there is no chance of winning. In other words, the project manager avoids and lets the conflict resolve itself. It is also known as avoiding. Withdrawing technique can be used when The issue is unimportant and there is no chance of winning. There is no time to deal with it because of the other important issues. You see no chance of getting your concerns met. 2. Smoothing. In the smoothing technique, the project manager accommodates the concerns of other people rather than his own concerns. Therefore, this technique is also known as accommodating. The smoothing technique can be used when other people have more effective solutions. The issue is not very significant for you. 3. Compromising. The project manager takes suggestions from both parties and makes a compromise. It is a common technique used for resolving disagreements. This solution partially satisfies both sides. The compromising technique can be used when a temporary solution is required. Both parties have equally significant goals. Collaboration does not work. 4. Forcing. The project manager acts in a very assertive manner to achieve his goals or agrees with one party's viewpoint and enforce the others. It is also known as competing. Forcing technique can be used when there is an emergency. A fast resolution is needed for the situation. You agree with one party's viewpoint and you have limited time to solve the issue. 5. Collaborating. The project manager negotiates the issue with all parties to find a solution considering multiple aspects. It is also known as win-win technique and the solution satisfies the concerns of both parties. Collaborating technique can be used when there is a high level of trust. The decisions of other parties are important. A consensus is needed for the situation. A long-term relationship is needed. Conflicts are a natural part of the workplace environment. Therefore, they should be managed successfully. Knowing how to manage conflicts can increase collaboration within your team and improve communication between team members. 5 tips on how to manage and resolve conflicts. 1. Clarify the root cause of conflict. Clarifying what the root cause is enables you to understand how the issue came to grow in the first place. 2. Establish good communication channels. Establishing good communication channels with the parties is key to resolve conflicts in short time. 3. Developing emotional intelligence. As a project manager, having emotional intelligence goes a long way in terms of understanding and evaluating your own feelings, as well as your stakeholders' feelings. 4. Stay calm and get specific. Stay calm and avoid useless conversations. Bring up a specific and recent issue and address a focused issue. 5. Focus on the future. Conflict resolution in the project management means moving past problems, not wallowing in them.
What is brainstorming? If you want to solve a complicated problem, brainstorming is an effective method to come up with a solution. As the name suggests, brainstorming is using brain to storm a problem with a horde of effective solutions. Doing it with a group of people helps to gather up many ideas and new solutions. Before to start, make sure you define the problem correctly. By defining problems correctly, you can solve them easily, which helps saving time, money and resources. Brainstorming techniques. There are 7 ways. 1. Nominal group technique. 2. Group passing technique. 3. Team idea mapping method. 4. Directed brainstorming. 5. Guided brainstorming. 6. Individual brainstorming. 7. Question brainstorming. 1. Nominal group technique. Nominal group technique is like a small group discussion to reach consensus. You collect information by asking team members to respond to questions posed by a moderator, and then asking participants to prioritize the ideas of all group members. 2. Group passing technique. The group passing technique involves sitting around a table and offering solutions in a fast-paced manner. When the ideas are blurted out in this way, there is no time to think long and hard before volunteering a response. 3. Team idea mapping method. Each participant brainstorms individually, then all the ideas are combined onto one large idea map. During this combining phase, participants may discover a common understanding of the issues as they share the meanings behind their ideas. During this sharing, New ideas may arise and they are added to the map as well. 4. Directed brainstorming. Directed brainstorming is quite similar to the group passing technique. The process is led by a facilitator who guides the team through predefined ideation constraints of the session. 5. Guided brainstorming. A guided brainstorming session is time set aside to brainstorm either individually or as a collective group about a particular subject under the constraints of perspective and time. This technique removes all cause for conflict and constrains conversations while stimulating critical and creative thinking in an engaging, balanced environment. 6. Individual brainstorming. Individual brainstorming can uncover more ideas than group brainstorming, but may not to develop the ideas as effectively, perhaps as individuals on their own run up against problems they cannot solve. Individuals are free to generate ideas in their own time without any criticism or being dominated by others. 7. Question brainstorming. This process involves brainstorming the questions, rather than T-ling to come up with immediate answers. The answers to the questions form the framework for constructing future action plans. Once the list of questions is set, it may be necessary to prioritize them to reach to the best solution in an orderly way. If you want to solve a complicated problem or just need fresh ideas, give a brainstorming session a TL. TL brainstorming techniques to generate a synergy between employees. Difference between quantitative and qualitative risk analysis. Effective risk analysis and management are essential for any project's success. Typically, project risk management has 7 processes. Plan risk management. Identify risks. Perform qualitative risk analysis. Perform quantitative risk analysis. Plan risk responses. Implement risk responses. Monitor risks. During the perform risk analysis process, project teams conduct qualitative and quantitative risk analysis in order to establish risk response strategies to deal with both positive and negative risks. Qualitative risk analysis. Qualitative risk analysis is the process of evaluating individual project risks considering their probability of occurrences and impacts. As a result of analysis groups, project risks can be classified into 3 groups according to their degree of impact, which are low, medium, and high. Quantitative risk analysis. Quantitative risk analysis focuses on numerically evaluating the influence of project risks on project elements. Difference between quantitative and qualitative risk analysis. The most noticeable difference between qualitative and quantitative risk analysis is that the first one deals with individual project risks, where the second one considers the project risks as a whole. Qualitative risk analysis is at risk level, is easy to perform, does not require a software tool, is subjective evaluation of probability and impact, should be done first, analyzes the effects of individual project risks, is useful in all size projects. The risk scale and scores are qualitative, provides quick information. On the other hand, qualitative risk analysis is at project level, is time-consuming. Software tools facilitate the analysis process, is objective, numeric evaluation of probability and impact, should be done after performing qualitative analysis, analyzes the combined effects of risks as a whole to specify an overall project risk, is useful in especially in large and sophisticated projects. The risk scale and scores are quantitative, often specified in monetary and duration terms, provides detailed information. How to develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, also known as emotional leadership or emotional quotient, is the ability of individuals to understand their own feelings and the feelings of others and use this information to guide their behaviors. Studies show that a high emotional quotient boosts career success, relationship satisfaction, humor, and happiness. But, can you really improve your emotional intelligence? The answer is yes. There are steps to be followed. 1. Get to know yourself. Emotionally intelligent people are aware of themselves. They know their strong and weak areas. Otherwise, they make poor decisions. 2. Identify and manage your emotional triggers. Knowing what your emotional triggers are and how to deal with them is a key component of good emotional health. If you don't manage and control your stress and feelings, you will have poor communication with others. You need to steer your negative emotions in another direction and transform your feelings into positive emotions. 3. Empathize. Empathy is the keystone of emotional intelligence. Put yourself in his/her shoes. See the situation from your team member's eyes, or if a team member has missed a deadline with a reasonable explanation, accept it as a human being. 4. Accept and own your emotions. Own your emotions and accept them as yours. Learning to accept and own your emotions allows you to be vulnerable in a way that doesn't induce shame, guilt, or doubt, and fosters self-compassion. 5. Listen to your gut. When you encounter a new situation or environment or meet someone for the first time, pay attention to any subtle signals from your body. People interact with each other more than ever. Having just a list of technical skills in project management is not enough to impact others. Emotional intelligence can be cultivated if you could practice and work on. Because the brain shapes itself depending on the repeated experience. Six tips for successful project management. Whether you are an experienced project manager or someone who has been planning and preparing to become a project management professional, there are certain things that every professional should know about, such as planning, scheduling, resource leveling, budgeting. However, some knowledge of project management and experience may not be enough to bring success all the time. You need to develop your own methods and approaches to achieve success. Here we have 6 successful project management tips for you. 1. Don't promise what you can't deliver. Setting reasonable expectations is one of the most important success factors. If you promise to give more than needed, it will be a bit dangerous considering the risk factors. Set reasonable expectations and keep everyone satisfied, but sometimes, do not hesitate to take risks and promise to over-deliver if you are 100% sure. 2. Get to know your team members. Human is in the origin of everything. We perform projects with the contributions of clients, team members, vendors, stakeholders, and anybody involved in the processes. No matter how many people are working with you, you need to know the strengths and weaknesses of your team members in order to assign the right person to the right task. Not every project fits every individual's requirements, but if you know your team members' strengths and weaknesses, you will decide how to use them effectively. 3. Put the right people in the right job. Each project manager has different skills and competencies. The same goes for project team members. You need to consider the knowledge and abilities of candidates while forming a team. For example, a large and sophisticated project requires more skilled staff than a small, low-budget project. On the other hand, assigning a highly experienced staff for a secondary task will be costly. 4. Be honest. Undoubtedly, that honesty is one of the most important policies while managing a project. Not everyone needs to know everything all the time. However, if you hide many things from your team members or stakeholders, it will be difficult to get their support when you need it regarding your secrets. Believe in transparency in project management. Share information and let them come to you with more insights. 5. Meet deadlines. One of the main responsibilities of a project manager is completing a project on time and budget by meeting deadlines and major project milestones. Therefore, as a project manager, you need to have advanced planning and scheduling skills to track the project schedule and take action in case of delays. 6. Be a good leader. In order to be a good leader in your project, you must have some traits such as Inspiration, vision, integrity, communication. If you guide your team members rather than just managing and forcing them to work, you will increase your chance to influence people towards the achievement of project goals. Beyond these, develop your emotional intelligence skills in the workplace because highly emotionally intelligent project managers are more successful than their coworkers. They have a set of skills that help to manage both their own and other people's emotions.
What is Moscow prioritization method? It is often difficult to rank items to prioritize when there's a group of people involved. Moscow method is a framework for prioritizing and managing requirements efficiently. The method was designed by software developer Di Clegg while working at Oracle. His main objective was to solve the problem of wasting time, especially during the development stage of a product's launch. Moscow is an acronym that stands for 4 categories of initiatives: must have, should have, could have, will not have. Must have. Must have refers to mandatory items for the product or project. In other words, features or initiatives are critical, and without them you cannot deliver the product. Should have. Should have refers to essential but not vital items. They are also critical, but may not be as time-sensitive as the must-have. Could have. These features or initiatives would make a great addition. In other words, they will add value to the product, but they are not critical. If there's time, consider adding these features. Will not have. This is irrelevant. Lose it. Not only for now, but for good. It will do no good and only will result in waste of your resources, most importantly, your time. What might be the downfalls of conducting Moscow analysis? Inconsistent scoring. Tasks ending up in inaccurate or mistaken categories. Not including stakeholders while conducting the analysis. Bias of team members or employees. Not categorizing objectively or relevant to your organization's objectives. To have the most successful Moscow analysis, decide on a scoring system or method with proven efficiency and success. Get input from all key stakeholders. Share the analysis and its results organization-wide. The Moscow technique is a useful way to manage conversations with clients, to understand what they want exactly. In this way, you're not wasting time. Why should you use it? Moscow prioritization is an effective method for a project team to prioritize its work. Focusing on the most important items means they can understand the main components of the project finished quickly. From this aspect, it keeps the entire team on the same page. By using Moscow, both customer and project teams confirm which items are required and which of them are not. So it helps to exclude unnecessary things and keeps things lean, agile and simple. Moscow analysis is one of the aspects of Agile that helps the team minimize wasted time, effort, resources and money.
What is expected monetary value? According to the PM Book Guide, expected monetary value analysis is a statistical concept that calculates the average outcomes when the future includes the scenarios that may or may not happen. It is an important concept in project risk management which is used for all types of projects to make a quantitative risk analysis. Expected monetary value calculation relies on measuring the probability and impact of each risk. Probability refers to the possibility of occurrence of a condition or an event. How to calculate the expected monetary value? There are 3 steps to be followed. 1. Calculate the probability of occurrence of each risk. 2. Calculate the impact of each risk as a monetary value. 3. Multiply the probability by impact. Example. You are managing a software development project and identified a risk related to market demand. The possibility of risk is 20%, and if it occurs you will lose 10,000 USD. Expected monetary value can be calculated as follows: probability of occurrence 20%. Impact of risk 10,000 United States dollars. Expected monetary value equals to 20% times minus 10,000 USD equals to minus 2,000 USD. Benefits of expected monetary value analysis. Enables to calculate contingency reserve. Improves statistical thinking. Improves decision making. Helps to select the risk management alternative which requires less cost. Helps to calculate the cost needed to outcome of all uncertain events. Forces the project manager to make cost savings during the execution. This technique does not require additional cost, it only requires an expert to make risk calculations. It can be used in conjunction with decision tree analysis. Limitations of expected monetary value. This technique gives realistic results when there is a large number of risks in the project. It is suitable for large and complex projects. It is not used in small-sized projects in general. The impact of risk calculation as a monetary value may be difficult in some cases. The expert who is making this analysis may affect the result because of his/her personal decisions and bias. If the positive and negative risks are not identified properly, the result would be misleading.
Accuracy. Precision. In quality management, while evaluating datasets, you need to know two significant concepts: accuracy and precision. Your dataset might be close to an accepted value or completely different. So how can you point out if the measurements are close to the target or not? The main difference between accuracy and precision is that accuracy indicates how your measurement is close to a specific value, while precision shows how measurements are close to each other in a cluster. Assume that you played dart with your friends. This image demonstrates a high degree of accuracy, but low precision. On the other hand, this image demonstrates high precision, but low accuracy. What is accuracy? Accuracy means the values gathered from repeated measurements are close to the target. If all the measurements are accurate, this means that they are close to the target, and they may be or may not be close to each other. What is precision? Precision means the values gathered from repeated measurements are close to each other in a cluster. They have little scatter. If all the measurements very precise, it means that the measurements are close to each other and they may be or may not be close to the target. When the scatter is less, measurements have high precision. For better understanding, let's go deeper into the subject. Figure 1. Your measurements are close to each other but they are far from the target value. This shows high precision but low accuracy. Figure 2. Your measurements are close to each other and they are on the target value. This shows high precision and high accuracy. Figure 3. Your measurements are far from each other and they are far from the target value. This shows low precision and low accuracy. Figure 4. Your measurements are far from each other but they are close to the target value. This shows low precision but high accuracy. What is the difference between accuracy and precision? Accurate measurements must be close to the target value. However, precise measurements must be close to each other. Accuracy is desired for quality purposes. Precision is not dependent on accuracy. Therefore, they may not be close to the target. Many measurements are required to decide precision. However, you need fewer measurements to decide accuracy. In most cases, accuracy can be determined by one measurement. Precision can be conceivable as the degree of reproducibility between repeated measurements. Agile. Waterfall. Similarities and differences. Methodologies provide frameworks to help you to organize your project's initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing processes. Project managers, especially in software development projects, often wonder about which methodology suits best for their requirements. Waterfall, Agile, Lean, Extreme Programming, Six Sigma are common methodologies. Although both methodologies serve the same purpose, their software development lifecycle are different. What is the Agile methodology? Continuous collaboration and iteration are key for Agile implementation. Scrum, Kanban methodology, Extreme Programming, and Adaptive Project Framework are the Agile frameworks. All the projects and organizations are not suited to Agile. It is mostly applicable to large and complex projects. What is the Waterfall methodology? The waterfall is a linear sequential model in which the project work is completed sequentially in each phase. This means the predecessor phase ends and the successor phase starts just after. The waterfall is a straightforward methodology for project management that helps to perform progress measurement easily. The testing phase takes place at the end of the development. What are the differences between Agile and Waterfall? Agile methodology divides the project development lifecycle into sprints. Waterfall methodology divides the software development process into distinct phases. Follows an incremental approach. Follows a linear sequential approach. It is a flexible methodology. It is a rigid structural methodology. Agile can be considered as a collection of various projects. It will be done as one single project. It is easy to make changes because of its flexibility. It is difficult to make changes. The test plan is discussed after the completion of each sprint. The test plan is reviewed during the testing phase. Project requirements are subject to change. The waterfall is suitable for projects with definite requirements. Changes are not easy. Agile is a customer-focused methodology. Changes on the product are as per the customer's requirements. Waterfall methodology relies on definite project requirements. A fixed project budget is not suitable for the implementation of Agile methodology. There may be some flexibility. Since all the requirements in the project scope is defined well, the project budget does not change too much. High communication and collaboration among the team members. Low communication and collaboration among the team members. The product owner and the project team collect the requirements every day. All the requirements are defined before starting the project. Follows an iterative development approach so that planning, development, and testing phases may appear more than once. Phases are linear and sequential. Once a phase is completed, the next phase starts. Testing is performed in conjunction with software development. The testing phase comes once the build phase is completed. To sum up, Waterfall is essentially making a good plan and sticking to it, while Agile provides a more flexible and iterative approach. Waterfall is more sequential and predefined, while Agile is more adaptable as a project progresses. Lessons learned process in project management. Projects often teach many lessons to project managers and stakeholders over time. Lessons learned are the documented information that includes both the positive and negative experiences of a project. Those experiences may guide new project teams and managers. When the information is analyzed, a lot of insights can be gained regarding the reasons for project failure or success. How does the lessons learned process works? Lessons can be captured at any process during the life of the project. Therefore, it is critical to conduct lessons learned sessions regularly to avoid missing some of the key items. Lessons learned process includes identifying, documenting, analyzing, storing, and retrieving to capture, record, and use the collected data. Identifying lessons learned. Project teams identify recommendations through lessons learned sessions at this step. Preparing for the session and conducting the session are substages of the identifying step. Creating a project survey is important to prepare for the session. A session includes project team, selected stakeholders, project support staff, documenting lessons learned. After the lessons learned are identified, they should be reported and documented. The report contains valuable data captured during the sessions with additional information provided by team members. Typically, a documented data contains these elements: contract information, statement of the lesson, a short description of how the lesson learned, benefits of using the lesson for the current project, analyzing lessons learned. Analyzing and organizing is the third step performed to understand what can be done with the identified and documented lessons learned. Storing lessons learned. Storing the gathered information in a database is crucial for organizational success. Stored data will help other project teams to understand both positive experiences and undesirable outcomes of the project. Retrieving lessons learned. Retrieving is the final step to retrieve the gathered data for use on current projects. Please note that lessons learned include positive experiences as well as negative outcomes. How to capture lessons learned successfully. Include both positive and negative experiences. Conduct the sessions regularly, so that team members will not forget the problems that they faced. Store data throughout the project in a database. Ensure that stored data is accessible to other projects. Involve key project stakeholders and get their feedback while preparing lessons learned. Risk appetite, risk tolerance, risk threshold. Risk management is the process of identifying, assessing and controlling threats to an organization's objectives. These risks could originate from a wide variety of sources, including financial uncertainty, legal liabilities, personal errors and natural disasters. Effective risk management strategies help you to identify your project's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. You must know how to deal with potential risks and mitigating their effects to ensure your project's success. The strategy to manage risks changes depending on the circumstances and the behavior of the organization towards risks. Risk appetite. Risk appetite is the degree of uncertainty an organization or individual is willing to accept in anticipation of a reward. In other words, risk appetite is the amount of risk that an organization is prepared to pursue. Organizations take risks in order to grow and meet their strategic objectives. Risk appetite is the amount of risk that an organization is willing to take in order to innovate in pursuit of its objectives. Risk appetite can vary based on factors such as business field, company culture, organizational objectives, financial strength of the organization, competitors. Risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is the specified range of acceptable results. Risk tolerance indicates the sensitivity of an organization to risks. Critical projects force organizations to take more risks than in critical projects. Example. Assume that your organization decided to participate in a tender. According to your calculations, the total project cost will be around $500,000 USD. You decided not to bid for more than 15 USD of the total project cost. This 15 USD is your organization's tolerance limit. Risk threshold. Risk threshold is the level of risk exposure above which risks are addressed and below which risks may be accepted. Example. Assume that your organization will participate in a tender. According to your calculations, The total project cost will be around 500,000 USD. You assembled a meeting with your top management and they told you that they cannot allow you to go beyond 80,000 United States dollars, apart from the 500,000 USD. Your organization's risk threshold for this project is 80,000 USD. Effective risk management helps to prevent risks or issues before they occur. By this means organizations can save money and protect their future. In general, risk appetite relates to the amount and type of risk an organization is willing to pursue, whereas risk tolerance relates to the amount of risk the organization is willing to endure to achieve objectives. Risk threshold is a quantified limit beyond which you will not accept the risk. What is Waterfall model? The Waterfall model is a sequential and linear diagram for software design and development processes. Typically, sequential phases: requirements, design, implementation, testing, delivery, maintenance. Form a waterfall diagram and each phase is completed before the next phase begins. This model takes its name from the linear and successive phases required to develop the product. These sequential phases flow downwards in one direction, therefore the name of the model is Waterfall. The most important characteristic of this model is that there is no overlap between the phases. What are the phases of the Waterfall model? Requirements. Software, product, or project requirements are determined and specified at this step. Business needs. Requirements of the product are documented in a product requirements document. System design. Product or software requirements are analyzed and the system is designed based on the outputs of the first phase. Business logic, schemas, models, and diagrams are generated to model the product. Implementation. Code of the software is written based on the inputs of the design phase at this step. Business logic, schemas, models, and diagrams created at the design phase are used at this step. Testing. Testing is performed for systematic discovery and debugging of defects. If the problems are unmasterable, it will be a good idea to inspect previous phases to identify the root cause of the problems. Deployment of system. Once all the tests have been performed and all the issues are resolved, the product is ready for deployment. Deployment is to make the product live in the production environment. Maintenance. The maintenance phase is one of the most important phases of a product or software. After the deployment of the product to the customer, some modifications may be required to improve the performance. These modifications arise either due to change requests demanded by the customer, or defects uncovered during the use of the product or software. Advantages of Waterfall model. It is a simple method and easy to use. Phases of this model are very clear and easy to understand. There is no overlap between the phases. It is suitable for smaller projects where requirements are well defined. Scope, target, and milestones are clearly defined. It allows for early design changes. It is easy to manage. Phases and requirements are documented well in this model. Disadvantages of Waterfall model. The Waterfall model does not allow much revision. It is not suitable for large and complex projects. If there is a problem that occurred in one of the phases, it is expensive and time-consuming to turn back and fix the problem. The Waterfall model does not include a feedback path. It does not incorporate any system for error correction. It is not suitable for projects with uncertain scope. It is not suitable for long and ongoing projects. Risk and uncertainty are high. The model assumes that there is no overlap between the phases. However, in real projects, phases may overlap.
What is Pareto chart in quality management? Pareto chart is one of the 7 basic tools of quality which helps to determine the most frequent defects, complaints, or any other factor. It is a visual tool widely used by professionals to analyze data sets related to a specific problem or an issue. 7 basic tools of quality. The 7 basic tools of quality involve a group of visual and graphical techniques that can be used to solve problems or issues related to quality. Fishbone diagram, check sheet, control chart, histogram, Pareto chart, scatter diagram, stratification. An Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto developed this quality tool, hence it was named Pareto chart after him. Typically, Pareto chart involves vertical bars descending from left to right in a line that represents a cumulative curve. The bar that has the highest value falls into the left and the bar that has the lowest value falls into the right. The vertical axis on the left side represents the frequency of occurrence, costs or another measurement related to the survey. The vertical axis on the right side represents the cumulative percentages of the values. How to make a Pareto chart in 7 steps. Here are the steps. Decide the categories to be represented on the chart. Decide the type of measurement for the vertical axis on the left. Specify the time period for the chart. Collect data for each category or use the existing data. Specify the scale for measurements and organize the vertical axis on the left by using this scale. Draw the vertical bars for each category and place the highest value on the left and the lowest value on the right. Draw the cumulative curve by calculating the percentages. The most important category is represented by the biggest bar, which is on the left. The least important category is symbolized by the smallest bar, which is on the right. There is a cumulative percentage line in the Pareto chart which helps to analyze the effect of each category. Pareto chart example. Assume that you are a quality control manager of a concrete plant and you tested the strength of all the concrete samples. The concrete strength must be 30 megapascal and you categorize the results like that. 60 samples have critical strength while the strength of 5 samples are not critical because they are around 30 megapascal. In order to draw the cumulative percentage line, you calculated the cumulative values as shown in the table. The total number of samples is 150 so that the percentage of critical samples are 40. By using the category's strength and the number of samples tested, you can draw the Pareto chart. Benefits of Pareto analysis. It is an effective tool for communication with stakeholders visually. Enhances organizational efficiency. Helps to determine the most significant causes of a problem. Enhances problem-solving skills. It is a visual presentation tool. It can be created easily with limited statistical knowledge. Improves decision-making within the organization. Limitations of Pareto analysis. The Pareto analysis relies on past records. If the past records are not correctly stored, the result of Pareto analysis may be deceptive. It does not define the root cause of a problem. It demonstrates the frequency of occurrence. An additional tool like a fishbone diagram must be used to define the root cause. Sometimes one Pareto analysis cannot be enough. For multiple causes and problems, multiple Pareto charts may be required. What is a scatter diagram? There are 7 basic quality management tools for planning, monitoring, and controlling processes to improve quality-related issues within the organization. These are: fishbone diagram, check sheet, Control chart. Histogram. Pareto chart. Scatter diagram. Stratification. A scatter graph is a type of diagram which demonstrates the relationship between two variables for a group of numerical data. It is used for process improvement to illustrate the relationship between a component of a process on one axis and the quality defect on the other axis. How to draw a scatter diagram step by step. You can draw a scatter diagram with two variables. Usually, the first variable is under the control of the researcher and the second variable depends on the first one. The independent variables which affect the dependent ones are typically plotted along the horizontal axis and the dependent variables are plotted along the vertical axis. The independent variable affects the dependent variable, therefore, the independent variable is also known as the control parameter. Sometimes both variables may be independent. In that case, the scatter graph demonstrates the level of correlation between them. In other words, it helps to determine how closely the variables are related. There are 4 steps to be followed while drawing a scatter diagram. Step 1. Determine the issue, collect and categorize the data to be analyzed. Step 2. Draw the vertical and horizontal axis and plot each variable on the graph. Step 3. Determine the type of correlation. Step 4. Determine the root cause of the problem by interpolating results. Let's review an example for better understanding. A health and safety manager collects data for the 2 variables below in order to understand the relationship between the number of accidents and long working hours within a construction project. Number of accidents. Working hours. Then he plots the data in a scatter plot by assigning the working hours to the horizontal axis and the number of accidents to the vertical axis. The scatter graph of all the data helps him to understand the relationship between the 2 variables. He notices that as the working hours increases, the number of accidents also increase. Working hours is the independent data and the number of accidents depends on the working hours. Correlation. Correlation is used to define the relationships between the variables. In other words, correlation shows how the variables relate to each other. Scatter diagrams can be categorized according to the slope of the data points. 3 types of correlation. Positive, negative, and no correlation may be shown in the diagrams based on the data set and variables. Scatter diagram with no correlation. If there is no possible relationship between the variables, the correlation type is called no correlation. Also, it can be named as zero correlation type. The 2 variables are not linked. In that case, you cannot draw any line through them. For example, air temperature and shoe size have no correlation. As the air temperature increases, shoe size is not affected. Scatter diagram with negative correlation. In this type of correlation, one variable increases as the other variable decreases. For example, if the speed increases, travel time to a destination decrease. Scatter diagram with positive correlation. If there is a positive correlation between the variables, this means that if one variable increases, the other one increases, and if one of them decreases, the other one decreases. For example, as the speed of a turbine increases, the amount of electricity that is generated increases. It is obvious that scatter diagrams have some limitations. On the other hand, when used in the right way, they are a great tool for overviews and showing patterns between some datasets.
Cost classification. Direct costs and indirect costs. Cost classification is an essential process in budgeting, accounting, and project management. Categorization of expenses help project teams to understand what kind of costs will be spent during the project lifecycle. Cost classification is the process of distinguishing costs into subcategories. Many different types of cost classifications can be made, such as direct and indirect costs, fixed and variable costs, customer costs, departmental costs, manufacturing costs. Typically, direct costs are attributable to a product, goods, or service itself. They are directly related to production. On the other hand, indirect costs are those which is required to produce the product but not directly related to the product itself. Let's analyze each concept. Direct cost. A direct cost is a price that can be utterly attributed to the production of products or services. Some costs, such as direct materials, direct labor, equipment are examples of common direct costs. Direct costs are often variable costs. If the manufactured units increase, direct costs increase. Because creating more units requires more materials and resources. Example. Assume that you will produce 1,000 metric cup concrete in the batch plant. You need 300 tons of cement to produce 1,000 metric cup concrete, and 1 ton cement costs $100. So you need $30,000 to purchase cement. This is your direct cost. As the quantity increases, direct cost increase. Indirect cost. Indirect costs are not spent just on only one product. Overhead costs, ongoing costs, project management costs, operational costs are indirect costs. The quantity of manufactured units doesn't affect your rental price. Another example of a variable cost is your heating and cooling expenses that can change on a monthly basis. Example. Assume that this month you will produce 1,000 metric cup concrete. If you increase the production and produce 1,500 metric cup concrete, this does not change your head office costs or marketing costs. What are the differences between direct and indirect costs? It is easy to determine direct costs considering the product or service. On the other hand, it is not easy to identify indirect costs. Detailed analysis is required to identify indirect costs. Direct costs are attributable to a specific product, department, goods, or service. On the other hand, indirect costs are attributable to multiple products or services. Direct costs are variable costs that change based on the quantity of a product or service. However, indirect costs are fixed costs.